look at me, completely useless. Just decoration now, aren't we?
They said I needed help. I say this is comfortable.
Zach Kramer had been in a wheelchair for 4 years after the accident that damaged his spine, and he had learned to live with the stares, the whispers, and the assumptions. At his brother Joey's wedding, he tried to focus on being happy for him, but the tension in his family was impossible to ignore. His uncle Morris, a retired fire chief who had always dismissed Zach's condition, watched him with open disapproval. Zach rolled into the reception with his wife Paige, trying to stay calm as Morris loudly questioned why Zach still used that thing. Zach kept quiet for Joey's sake, but the humiliation simmered. As the night went on, he noticed Morris checking his phone repeatedly and stepping outside for hushed calls. Aunt Catherine looked tense, like someone carrying a heavy secret. But Zach pushed it aside and enjoyed the ceremony. When the reception started, Morris drank heavily, bragging to guests about his career and how he always pushed through pain. His comments made relatives shift uncomfortably, but nobody challenged him. Zach tried to ignore it until Morris took things further. In front of a crowd, Morris grabbed the handles of Zach's wheelchair and yanked hard, shouting that Zach should stop milking this and try standing like a real man. The sudden movement sent Zach crashing onto the polished floor. Gasps filled the room as Zach struggled to catch his breath. Paige ran toward him, but someone else was faster. Dr. Frink, Zach's neurologist, stepped into the center of the room with a file in hand. He laid Zach's medical records on a table and read the details aloud: the shattered vertebrae, the nerve damage, the chronic pain, and the physical limitations that were permanent. The room went silent as Morris's face drained of color. Phones came out. Guests recorded everything. Dr. Frink made it clear that Zach's condition was real, documented, and serious. Morris tried to defend himself, but the damage was done. Zach pulled out his phone and calmly told Morris he had recorded the entire incident. Morris had given him exactly what he needed. Zach then revealed the truth he had uncovered. Morris had been involved in suspicious fires, covered up investigations, and gained money he couldn't explain. He announced it loud enough for the room to hear. Aunt Catherine broke down, admitting she'd known something was wrong but had been too afraid to speak up. Morris lunged toward Zach, but guests held him back. The police arrived minutes later. Zach pressed charges and Morris was taken away as the reception descended into chaos. The fallout continued for weeks. Some family members blamed Zach, while others were horrified by what Morris had done. Joey was furious at first, but Zach reminded him that Morris not he had ruined the wedding. Zach turned over all his research to the police. Insurance investigators confirmed Morris had been involved in fraud and arson schemes for years. Detectives uncovered financial trails that linked him to several illegal payouts. The news exploded across local media. Zach became the whistleblower who exposed a corrupt former fire chief. As the investigation grew, more victims came forward, people Morris had intimidated or belittled. Aunt Catherine filed for divorce and agreed to testify. Zach's own mother struggled with the truth, torn between loyalty and shame, but Zach stayed firm. At Morris's trial, the video of the wedding incident was played for the jury. Dr. Frink explained how dangerous Morris's actions had been. Witness after witness testified about Morris's behavior. It took only 90 minutes for the jury to find him guilty of assault, fraud, conspiracy, and arson-related crimes. At sentencing, Zach faced Morris and told him he wasn't weak but patient, observant, and willing to stand up when it mattered. Morris received 25 years in prison. Life afterward slowly settled into something peaceful. Aunt Catherine rebuilt her life. Joey apologized and tried to mend their relationship. Zach's mother eventually understood the truth and reached out with regret. Zach and Paige bought a fully accessible home and focused on healing. Support came from disability organizations and strangers who admired Zach's courage. Hate mail faded as the truth became public record. Zach returned to consulting, rediscovering confidence he thought he had lost. Years later, he received a letter from Morris expressing regret, but Zach simply put it away. He didn't need closure from the man who tried to break him. What mattered was the life he rebuilt, the dignity he regained, and the strength he found in the battle he never asked for. Zach always said the same thing about the ordeal. Morris thought the wheelchair made him weak, but it made him sharper. It made him see what others didn't. And when the moment came, he used that clarity to take down a man who had underestimated him for far too long. In the end, Zach didn't just survive, he won.